In this video, we'll take a look at the editor interface of Unreal Engine. The goal is to give you an introduction to the most common buttons, panels, and toolbars you will interact with. While some of these elements are generally the same across various parts of the engine, you should spend some time getting familiar with their general purpose and functionality, especially if you're new to developing projects with Unreal Engine. So with that being said, let's get started. When you open the engine for the first time, the level editor will open. This provides the core functionality to the Unreal Editor and is used for designing levels and environments. It is where you will spend most of your time developing content for your project. There are also different editors in Unreal Engine used for different purposes. The content will differ depending on the level and project you open. In our case, we're using the first-person template with the Arena Shooter variant. So let's break this down into different areas. At the very top is the menu bar. Each editor in Unreal Engine has a menu bar that is located in the top left of the editor window on Windows devices, or at the top left of the display on macOS devices. Some of the menus, such as File, Window, and Help, are present in all editor windows, not just the level editor. Some other menus, though, are specific to their own editors. Right underneath, we have the main toolbar. The main toolbar contains shortcuts to some of the most used tools and commands in Unreal Editor. We have a save button to save the level that is currently open. We can select the currently open level in the content browser by clicking this button. We have mode selection, which contains shortcuts for quickly switching between different modes to edit content within your level. There is a list of content shortcuts, like the create button, which can be used to add new content to your level, like primitive shapes and other types of assets. The blueprint button that can be used to create and access blueprints, and the cinematics button that can be used to create and access a level sequence or master sequence cinematics. Next to the content shortcuts, we have the play mode controls where we can play, skip, stop, and eject to run our game in the editor. And finally, we have the platforms menu, which contains a series of options that you can use to configure, prepare, and deploy your project to different platforms, such as Windows, macOS, Linux, mobile, and consoles. That's the main toolbar, which you will interact with quite frequently. Under that, we have the level viewport. The level viewport is where you can view and edit the contents of your level. It can generally display the contents of the level in two different ways. Perspective, which is a 3D view where you can view the content from different angles. And orthographic, which is a 2D view that looks towards a specific direction. The viewport toolbar includes common tools used to manipulate objects in the level by moving, rotating, and scaling them, as well as snapping tools for moving objects along a grid, rotation angle, or scaling amount. It also includes both perspective and orthographic views, where orthographic can be used to look at your level from fixed angles like top, bottom, left, right, front, or back. If we click the View Mode button in the top right corner of the viewport, we can change the view mode to something else. Lit is the default view mode used for real-time applications in the perspective view, where you can preview your level with normally rendered lighting. If we select a different view mode, like unlit, we can preview our scene in an environment with no rendered lighting. Keep in mind that the view mode button will be named after the view mode that is currently active. By using the Performance and Scalability button, we can change various settings like the scalability options. These options can be used to change the visual fidelity of which your level is being previewed. It's quite similar to graphic settings in most games, so if you pick low, you will see that your level is now previewed in a lower visual fidelity. Now, let's take a look at the content browser. The content browser is a file explorer where you can organize all the assets that make up your project. These assets can include blueprints, geometry, textures, materials, and so on. We can open a new content browser by going to Window, Content Browser, and picking one of the content browser instances. We can have up to 4 instances of a content browser simultaneously. If we want to access assets quickly without taking up space in the editor layout, we can use the Content Drawer, which is a special instance of the content browser that automatically minimizes when it loses focus, like when we click away from it. Using the shortcut Control and Space, or the Content Drawer button at the bottom left corner of the editor, we can display a content drawer. If we want to turn this into a content browser instead, where it's docked into the layout, we can click the Dock in Layout button. You can also use the content drawer in any asset editor window. For instance, if you're modifying a blueprint, you can access the content drawer using the same two methods. Let's move on to the next part of our editor, which is the bottom toolbar. It's broken down into the following sections. Content drawer, which we already had a look at, so we're one step ahead. Next to it, we have a button to open the output log and a text input field where we can enter console commands. Console commands can be a neat way of turning on and off certain settings for your project. Next to it, we have tracing, which is a suite of profiling tools in Unreal Engine. Tracing can be used when we want to find out more details about the performance of our project and what to optimize. We have a button to open the stall log. We have a drop-down to access derived data functionality, which can be used to change between storage types that Unreal Engine uses to store derived data. If you have a C++ project, you will see a button to access the live coding compiler to rebuild your application's C++ code while the engine is running. If you created a Blueprint project, this option will not be available. We also have a save status to view the number of levels with changes that are not yet saved. And finally, a revision control dropdown to connect to revision control and view changes, submit content, or check out modified files. The next section of the editor interface is the outliner panel. The outliner displays a hierarchical view of all content in our level. You can hide or reveal objects by clicking the I button associated with each object. You can also access an object's context menu by right-clicking that object in the outliner. To keep our level organized, we can create, move, and delete content folders, which we can use to group objects in the level. And lastly, we have the details panel. When we select an actor in the level viewport or the outliner panel, the details panel will show the settings and properties that affect the actor we have selected. Some settings and properties are specific to the type of actor you have selected. For instance, the transform settings are universal between different types of actors. But for the cube selected, settings for something like nanite are specific to certain types of geometry. And that is it for this video. We hope that this was helpful in learning about the editor interface of Unreal Engine and what the most commonly used tools and panels are. Thanks for watching.